Hey everyone, welcome to another episode, another Friday episode of AWS On Air. We are live and we're kind of representing the East Coast this time. My name is Jeff Marushak. I'm a senior solutions architect for our DoD Air Force team, and joining me with her second ever appearance on AWS On Air is Fiona. Fiona, go ahead and introduce yourself.
It's true. Thanks, Jeff. Hi, everyone. I'm Fiona. I'm a solution architect as well in the public sector. I work with nonprofits specifically and excited to be back for my second show.
So I'm in the Ohio area. Where are you, Fiona?
I'm in the Washington, D.C. area. I'm a native to the West Coast, but I now live on the East Coast.
Okay, cool. So what's interesting is right now it's lunchtime on the West Coast.
That's
So that's
true.
the cool thing about this show, and I say this every week, is that on Friday things are kind of dwindling down a little bit, and for a good lunch, a good refresher of seeing what's new, some new features with AWS, AWS On Air is a good kind of option to kind of be playing in the background during your
Indeed.
lunch. But
I think we're
on
the
the East
perfect
Coast,
eating entertainment.
yeah, on the East Coast though, we're kind of like, hopefully our days, like some of us pretend our day's almost over at 3 o'clock. So if
Mm,
you need something to kind of get you through the very end of the day on the East
totally.
Coast, tune in to AWS On Air. We're here every Friday at this time, noon Pacific and 3 p.m. on the East Coast. And we have a bunch of other shows as well throughout the week. Fiona, can you give us some of those shows?
Yeah, I know we have Lockdown that talks specifically about security on AWS. We have Step Up Your Game Day that walks through specific game days. Jeff, what are some of your favorites?
Well, our producer Nick produces a great show around sports and how AWS helps sports. And
Hmm.
admittingly, I'm really excited. I've been really getting into F1 racing a lot, so I've been really
Oh,
interested in seeing how AWS helps that sport. So, a lot of good stuff during the week. Jillian does a show around startups, and Art does a show about under the hood, about the compute, about how things work under the hood at AWS.
hmm.
So all of those are throughout the week, but this is your kind of catch-all show every Friday where we have new guests to give new demos on new features of AWS services on
Exactly.
Friday. So we're glad you can join us. And if you get a chance in the chat of wherever you're watching this, give us a shout out and say where you're from, because we have
Yeah.
a we have folks from all over the world. We see, I think today we're going to have a lot of folks from Germany, so we'll let you know about that right as that comes about. But we have North America, South America, Europe, Asia. So let us know where you're from. We'd be happy to hear where you're tuning in from.
Yeah, Jeffrey, I do hear that we have some people from Germany here, and word on the street is that it's almost Oktoberfest in Germany. Is this true? Do you know?
Well, that's what I think. But what's funny is the last 2 years for work, I've had to go to Germany, and
Yeah.
I can tell you what I really enjoyed. It wasn't during Oktoberfest, but I miss it so much that I just kind of phase Oktoberfest out. So maybe this is a good thing that we're broadcasting, and a lot of folks in Germany are watching. So it'd be interesting to see kind of what our listeners maybe chime in and let us know kind of what's your favorite Oktoberfest tradition that you'd like to talk about. We can go from there. How about that?
I like that. I like that. What are some of the options that we're thinking? I'm thinking beer could be an option.
Hefeweizen, Christoph-Weizen,
Hefeweizen,
Danke-Weizen.
potentially.
Yeah. So, Fiona, what's new with you this week? As solutions architects, I get asked all the time, kind of, what's your day to day? And it's always different, and every week is different. So, Fiona, how was your week this week?
Are we talking AWS week or outside of work week?
You choose.
Okay, I'll do a little bit of both, maybe. So I'm transitioning to some new nonprofit accounts right now on the AWS side. So just getting to know some different account executives and new customers and getting up to speed on architecture. Specifically, we have the AWS Imagine Grant application process is happening right now. These are applications that nonprofits can apply to win grant money and build on AWS. So I'm helping some customers in that process. And then on the personal side, I talked last time I was on the show about my excitement for fall flavors, and I've been baking. And so my first pumpkin bread of the season has been baked this week. What have you been up to, Jeff?
Well, what's funny is I mentioned I'm on the Air Force team, and growing up, my mom would take us to the National Museum of the Air Force in Dayton, Ohio,
Uh-huh.
the largest Air Force museum. We would go there every year as a kid. And last week, my sales team held a day long, kind of like an immersion day in
Mm-hmm.
the room of the museum, talking to 1-star and 2-star generals, SES,
Wow.
about logistics and sustainment stuff. So it was kind of like a neat full circle for me, thinking like, oh, I came here as a kid, and now
Mm-hmm.
here helping the Air Force
That's awesome.
building. It was kind of a cool thing. So
Yeah,
that's what's new with me. So it was really exciting.
that's cool. One of my good friends, she lives in Dayton. She's in the Air Force, and I'm hoping sometime soon to get to go visit her. So maybe I'll get to go to the museum.
Oh yeah, it'd be great. All right, so let's talk about our guest. We're going to be talking a little bit about Glue, AWS Glue, and then specifically kind of like a sub feature of Glue, which is Glue
Yes.
Data Catalog.
Hmm.
Um, and something about Iceberg. Is that what you're getting with?
I hear we're going to be talking about Apache Iceberg. I'm interested to hear, who this might be applying to, what it is that we're adding to the capabilities with Iceberg. What are you feeling, and what are you thinking about it, Jeff?
I'm excited to learn. And what's funny is that we host these shows, but a lot of times the hosts like you and me are learning alongside with our guests. So this
Definitely.
is, I'm not really big into data analytics like deep.
Hmm.
So I think this is going to be something I'm going to take away some good stuff from. So
Me
with
too.
that, let's go ahead and bring in our guest, Sandeep.
Wonderful.
Sandeep, welcome to the show.
Cindy,
Hey, Jeff. Hey, Fiona. Yeah, glad to be here.
Yeah,
happy
why
to
don't you
have you
take a
here.
few minutes and let our viewers know who you are, what you do, and what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, so I'm Sandeep Adwankar. I'm a senior product manager for AWS, particularly their services. We're going to talk about AWS Glue Catalog. Also, we have permissions layer, which is called lake formation. I'm based in the Palo Alto area, Bay Area. It's great that we're talking about Oktoberfest. I know the fall is coming this weekend, and the baseball season is also in the full swing to the
Cool.
playoff. Yeah, excited about all that.
Okay, so let's build this up. Let's start. Can you give us a really quick overview of what Glue is? We'll start there first. Doesn't have to be deep, but let's just start. What are people using Glue for?
Yeah, Glue is one of the key service in AWS, which allows you to kind of take the data wherever it is, bring it, transform it, catalog it, provide the permissions on it. And it's used in every day, right? Like we have a large number of customers under different verticals. Like, for example, we talk about this baseball playoffs, right? I went to San Francisco Giants game. I took a driverless taxi there. It was amazing to kind of have this driverless taxi and still feel very safe. I mean, I feel like, okay, I don't need to worry about anymore who's driving and how much experience they have. Because the autonomous vehicle, they have millions of miles of data which have
Mm,
them trained for driving, right? So they know like all the context and all that. So that's one example in which the systems get this huge data sets, they get
mm,
trained on it, and now they are ready to have put it in the real life practice, right? Driving on actual road. So glue helps in many of those cases. Yeah, you have this. You can build this what you call data lakes, which is any data that you have, you go and put it there. For example, going back to the driverless car, right? They have like 10 or 12 cameras, each capturing megabytes per second information. They capture like terabytes of data, and you want to kind of store it somewhere, and then you want to analyze it. You want to use it for training your model. You want your driverless system to be perfect. So Glue helps in kind of bringing that data in a data lake, cataloging those, for having permissions on those, and then really making it available for the AI ML models to start using those. Um,
Yeah, so I always mention that, like, say if you're getting data from different areas and maybe a different like manufacturer piece of equipment, And I always say like world coordinates or something, and maybe this device has the coordinates separated by a comma, but this one has them separated by a dash, and you need to transform that data because you want it all looking the same as it goes through into your data lake. Yeah, we're talking ETL type of things here. Glue is going to help with that too, kind of bring it all together to where you want to use that data.
Yeah, absolutely. And the models are changing, right? So earlier we had this model about data lake, which are primarily any data you get, you just store those and you go and query those. Now we are coming to a kind of new world where we have high streaming data, which is coming at, as you can see, one vehicle producing terabytes of data. You have hundreds of thousands of these vehicles and maybe in the millions in the future, which is going to produce this data, which is really valuable. And the paradigm that is emerging, we call it transactional data lakes, right? That's where the Apache Iceberg comes into picture. So you have this data, which is not only you can take it and store it and use it for analysis, but you can actually keep on updating it. So transactional systems are very common in terms of like databases, data warehouse, but they were not so common when it comes to like petabytes or exabyte scale data. And now you have these new standards, and one which we'll talk today, which is Apache Iceberg. Right? So Apache Iceberg is that open source standard which enables customers to have the transactional data lakes.
Okay, so we're talking massive amounts of data here. I mean, if I'm going to get in an automated car, I want it to have those millions of miles of experience. And for it to have those millions of miles of experience, I need a data store that can hold lots and lots of data. And so you're saying Iceberg, this is a good fit for use cases where it's massive amounts of data?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this transactional data lake formats is a big thing, right? Iceberg is, of course, one of the open source which is there in AWS. We of course support all. There are others like Hudi and Delta. We support that as well. In this particular context, we're going to talk about Iceberg because we made some specific improvements on Iceberg is standard, but you still need a ways to manage those tables, to make those optimized so that the queries and AIML work fast and reliable. And customers can do it, but then they have to kind of build their own infrastructure and understand the changes in the data, which is very rapid. And based on that, apply optimization. We make it easy pattern, right? You go, enable the optimization, and under the hood, we'll manage all the optimization of the data lakes.
Okay. And so it might need optimization because you're saying there's so much data, it's coming from so many different places, it might become complicated. Like they have different data types. You said it's transactional data, so it's gathering point in time. Am I right with that portion of it?
Yeah, exactly. Right. So these transactions, to give an example, right? We have customers who have like a social networking, and they have these feeds coming in from social networks every 10 seconds, every 30 seconds. And these are like small, many times a small file, like 10 KB files. But you gather that, and then suddenly you have like 50,000 10 KB files. And if you start querying it, even just reading those 50,000 files takes a long time, right? So,
Yeah.
so one of the easy optimization techniques we launch is called a compaction. So this is like you consider like we have like bin packs, and you let's say you have 10 bins, and you pack all these 10,000 files of the 10 KB in those packs, and you construct like one or few of these compacted files, and these are becomes very performant. The query engines need to only read the file once, and then they can act on it, and that all happens in the background, right? The customers don't have to worry about it. The data lake keep on streaming the data, will compact it. And the other two optimization technique we just introduced last week. Happy to talk about it more. Yeah, and so just the other two techniques we introduce is one is called the snapshot retention, right? So the way of transactional system is every time the change happens, they create a snapshot. And each of these snapshots are great in terms of what we call time travel. So I want to know what happened maybe yesterday, and I can time travel, and my queries and others works as it is. I just need to give a time. But many times, since the data is coming so fast, I don't need to keep it what happened like 10 seconds before or a minute back, right? I may want to just keep only certain snapshots, and I could provide a policy for it. And then I want the system to be clean. Otherwise, the query performance again drops. And if I keep all these snapshots around, it's going to increase my storage cost. Right? So we introduce optimizer for enabling snapshot retention capability, where customer can provide that, and we will manage the kind of retention and the cleanup of it. The second optimizer we introduce is something we call it orphan file deletion. Sometimes what happens, these are dynamic systems, sometimes things fail. There are certain files that make it created. We call it orphan, means these are like unreferenced files. And these keep on accumulating, right? And so we want to run this optimization where we identify unreferenced files and kind of clean it up. And so those are the couple of new optimizers we just launched, and we have a blog post as well out. Yeah.
Very cool. All right, pop quiz, Jeff. Can you quickly describe those 3 optimizations that Sandeep just told us about?
Yeah, so I guess I'll summarize just to make sure I'm thinking the right vein here. So we have Glue, which is bringing in data from everywhere, different sources. And then we have Glue Data Catalog. And part of Glue Data Catalog is we have an option of how to store that incoming data. And a good open source option is Apache Iceberg tables. Now, based on the amount of data, and especially since you said streaming data, that means there's going to be a lot of little files. So I know one of them is combining a bunch of little files into larger files to make things
compaction.
Easier. That's one of them.
Yep.
And one of them is going back in time, so that's going to be with the snapshots. And Fiona, what's the third one? I can't think of it right now.
The last one was unreferenceable files. Is that right, Sandeep? So there's some files that can't quite make it in, and we want to get rid of them.
That's right. Yeah, it's an unreferenced file. We call orphan files, or they are basically Iceberg doesn't know about these files exist, and we want to make sure we have the clean system for the high performance.
Okay. Did we pass the pop quiz, Sandeep?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so, Sandeep, what's interesting, I heard you say that there's a way for customers to kind of do this optimization themselves, but you're here to talk about the new feature that allows those 3 optimizations to be done automatically.
Exactly. Yeah.
Can you give us can you show us how that works? Give us a little demo.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's go there. All right. Okay. Perfect. So we have this this blog that just out, and whatever I'm going to demo it, you can just go and click on this button here, which is launch stack, and you will have the entire system up there, right? So when you click on it, it will come to this cloud formation page.
So this cloud formation stack is sort of like an environment for you to play around with these new optimizations, correct?
Exactly. And what this stack will create is what is shown in this diagram, which is we have this trigger which triggers every 10 minutes certain set of data, like 10,000s or thousands of these rows gets added to this data lake. In this case is Amazon S3. The merge of the data happening, deletes is happening, and then you have this Apache Iceberg, which has a specific distinct way in which how the data is managed. They have multiple layers of how the data is and how the metadata gets handled and manifest and all that. And we make that very easy, right? So when you go and when you create it, you will see that it show up in the Glue catalog. So in the Glue catalog, you'll see that, okay, I have this table that's get created, which is the Apache Iceberg table. This is particular database. And then right now I need to enable these 3 optimizers, which is compaction, snapshot, and orphan file. This is where the actual data is. So you can go and actually look at the data. And the data, as you know, in the Amazon S3, you have a bunch of these files you'll see, which is JSON, Avro. These are how the internals of Apache Iceberg is. And many of the times these are the structures you want to kind of understand it, but you don't. But these are the standards, right? These are for data engineers to look at. And what I'm going to do is there's an option here where optimization enable, right? It's as simple as making it enable. You can use the default setting and you can enable it. So there are, as we talked about, compaction, snapshot retention, orphan file deletions. These are the ones. In this case, I'm going to customize so that I can show you the different options. So you provide the role. For example, I have a role created here. And then I can specify how long I want to keep it. Either I can use the default configuration, or in this case, let's say I want to just use it for 1 day. And then how many snapshot I want to retain, right? And I can just use
So
one.
we're saying that the default retention period is here for 5 days. So a snapshot older than 5 days old, if you do the default, it'll delete those for you. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I have aggressive policies of deleting the unreferenced file, and I acknowledge and I enable the optimization, right? So that's the thing that the customer have to do is just go and enable it on a table, and then they will have the compaction status enabled and auto file deletions enabled, and they can see the optimization configuration right here, what I have specified, which is the compaction and snapshot. In this case, I'm using the same IAM role for each, and this is my policy or the configuration I want to be applied on the table. I had done that before, and I've seen that I can see the history of this. So I've been using this table for a while, and I can see that, okay, right now I have not, for example, in this case, but today it found that there are certain manifest files that are eligible for expiration. So it go ahead and deleted it. If I go and look at kind of in general how it happened before, previously I had large amount of data that I was streaming in, for example, here, and it found that based on my configuration policies, certain things are eligible for expiration, in this case, certain manifest file data files, and it went ahead and removed those things. And similarly, I can see the compaction history, history as well. So the way, go ahead.
No, sorry, I was just saying, well, I mean, this seems really cool. Have you talked to customers who've been managing this themselves previously, and if they told you, how much time they've been spending on this, how much time this might save them?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the biggest thing is what's happening under the hood, right? So when the customer have to do something of this while their jobs are running, for example, I have these jobs running, right, which is continuously adding data. What they have to do is like understand the changes in the data, and then decide, okay, when should I trigger any of these optimization actions, right? And so that's all is something handled under the hood. So what we do is, as the streaming data comes in, we have this concept we call it entropy, which basically means simply a counter of the data changes per bucket or per folder basis. We call that partition. And we see, okay, new files added, we increment the count. If the files deleted, we decrement the count. When the count reaches a certain threshold, we call it breaching the entropy. We start a compaction, right? So there is quite a bit of engineering that happens under the hood to make sure we have the optimized way when to start the compaction and then when to run it. Kind of making sure that you have the optimal experience at the lowest cost possible, right?
Yeah, and I can imagine customers coming to you and the service team saying, can you help us write automation scripts to do this thing? And so that when that happens, then everyone does it slightly different. And you kind of it takes a while to get perfect. Here, it's right in the console. You're seeing a history, and it's the same for all customers. And I can see how that's a benefit for everyone to make everyone's life a little bit easier with all these optimizations.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the good thing is they can see that the benefits right here, right? So it's integrated with the CloudWatch. So if I go in the metrics, in this case, I was streaming the data, right? So I was continuously adding the objects. So it went from few to thousands of these objects, and then I turned it on, right? And then you see the effect. Even though I kept on streaming the data, it is able to find which data is which are the files which are based on my policy are ready to be expired, and it's able to kind of reduce the files and in terms of storage cost, right? So earlier my storage was like 400. It started with less than 400, and then as I added the data files, it kept on increasing. I want to retain the data which is important and which is needed, and corresponding snapshot, but I don't want it to go to like huge, right? It can go to, like, in this case, it went to like 22 gig. And so this snapshot and auto file deletions are able to kind of remove the files which are unneeded and bring the cost down and increase the query performance.
Gotcha. So are you thinking like options of if there is a file coming in every 5 seconds, let's after so many days we save one every minute or we delete the other ones, or is that kind of what you're talking about to reduce those file size?
Yeah, so the files, the current snapshot always has all the data, right? So that you want to maintain, and that's definitely. Now we are talking about snapshot which had happened previously, and as the new file comes in, it creates a new snapshot. It's similar to a version, and the way the standards work is by default it keeps everything, right? So it keeps all the versions, keeps all the snapshot, it keeps on accumulating, right? So data keeps on accumulating. So there are certain regulatory reasons as well, right? Like they may say, okay, I do not want to keep this data and want to remove the data which is maybe 1 month old or 5 days old. I want to definitely keep the current data. And so there are aspects of GDPR and other part, but along with that, the query performance and storage costs also matter to customers.
Gotcha. Well, I can imagine where those settings, like I said before, writing those scripts and everything, that's probably involves a software team, some DevOps, and now we've offered that as a serverless feature that it's just a click of the button in the management console that's same for everyone. I could see how this could make a lot of customers' lives easier.
Yeah, and we had this early adopters of Apache Iceberg, right, who actually went and wrote this multiple Spark jobs and wrote these eventing pipelines to understand the changes. But they do have to hire like army of data engineers to build those, right? And here we are kind of providing this all with the single click of enable, disable, providing it all under the hood.
Totally. There's one step, one thing to do. You just have to enable it, and then you're set. You're good to go. Just like if you're at Oktoberfest, just got to put on your lederhosen. You're having a good time. One thing to do.
Strap up, and get going.
Exactly.
So it sounds like if you're working with Iceberg tables and you're streaming data, and you're dealing with having a ton of files and data retention, and you're looking for a way to optimize, utilizing Glue Data Catalog has some automations in there for you, and that's what you're here to announce today. So where would people go, Sandeep? It looks like you pointed us to a blog post. What you just showed us, it seems like anyone could go to this blog and deploy this CloudFormation template and play with it themselves.
You give us instructions on there?
Yeah, so we have all the instructions. Whatever I walked through is you just click on this launch tag, it will set everything up. And you have the easy ways how to enable the snapshot retention, how you enable all the optimizations, configurations. And if you want to do it through APIs, we have ways to do that as well. And and you validate solution yourself, right? Like you look at your set of data and see how the optimizers will help you in that. And so it's right there for you. Try it out. Looking forward to your feedback.
Great, yeah, and I know we've put in our producers have put in the chat comments the link to that blog post. But Sandeep, thank you very much for joining us and sharing these new features of Glue Data Catalog. We appreciate your time, and this was really exciting.
Thanks so much.
Absolutely, great to be here. Thank you.
All right, Fiona.
All right, Jeff.
What's next? What do we got to do next?
I think that we might have Nvidia coming on next. Am I right about that?
But before that, we want to talk about the survey.
Oh, that's so true. How can I get ahead of myself and not talk about the survey first? The most important thing of all.
We work at AWS. We say survey like every other sentence. So
it's true. It's like our second nature.
So, folks, as you tune into either this show every Friday or any of the other shows we mentioned earlier on throughout the week, we want to make sure that the content we're producing is what you guys are looking for. And obviously, we know you're looking for AWS. You're looking for what's new features, cool demos. You want to see the new tech. So if you take the survey that our producers are putting in the Slack channel, it's on the screen right now. Take the survey, let us know how we're doing, how we can make this better. It's a 2-minute survey, and I think you guys get a little bit of a gift for doing the survey. Fiona, what is that?
It's true. First 20 respondents, you will get $19. Very specifically, not 18, not 20, but $19. Think about how many beers you can get at Oktoberfest with $19.
I would have my lederhosen and take those $19 and put it right in the pocket and go down to the beer garden. So
right, you have
cool.
to have them you can't have it in your hands because you're balancing so many beers.
I would be the waiter who would carry like the 20 beers like that. Yeah, that'd be awesome. So yeah, folks, take the survey. Let us know how we're doing. And up next, you're right. We have a message and a little bit of a segment from our sponsors, Nvidia, talking about Nvidia and EKS. So let's cut to that. Our friend Todd Fortier is going to host this. So we'll be right back after this word.
All right.
Nvidia.
Perfect.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another AWS OnAir sponsored segment brought to you by Nvidia. I am Todd Fortier, a senior solutions architect here at AWS, and today I am joined by Eliuth from Nvidia and Vara from AWS. Eliuth, why don't you introduce yourself and we'll kick this thing off.
Thank you, Todd. Yes, my name is Eliuth Triana. I lead all the global developer communities on AWS, so we can help you accelerate all of the Gen AI optimizations for GPUs and for AWS when you're running your Gen AI. So today we are going to talk about NIMs. NIMs has been very popular. Jensen, the Nvidia founder, has been talking about NIMs as the tool to optimize Gen AI. So let's learn about what the NIMs are, how you can deploy NIMs on EKS. So that's going to be today's session.
Yeah, thanks, Eliuth. Welcome back to the show. I think we've talked before. It's good to see you again. And Vara, why don't you start by introducing yourself as well?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Todd. Thanks, Eliuth. Hi, everyone. My name is Vara Bunto. I'm a principal open source solutions architect working with AWS strategic accounts mainly. And today I'm going to talk about the data on EKS as one of the open source projects and how we can use data on EKS to actually deploy NVIDIA NIM inference containers on EKS. So we will delve more into the demo and other things as a part of this session. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks. Yeah. Welcome to the show. So today we've got NIMs. That's a product we've heard before on this show. And we've also got EKS, and we're going to talk about how they can be joined together to supercharge some AI ML inference workloads. So, Eliuth, let's start with you again. Remind us what NIMs is and what do customers get from using NIMs?
Absolutely, Todd. So our team has been working really hard with so many customers and partners in optimization. So optimization on top of the GPU is all when you are running Gen AI workloads. So either doing training or inference, you have to make sure that you optimize using the right software on top of your GPU instances on AWS. So today we will run our NIMs, which is, as Vara was saying, NVIDIA NIM solution. It's a container that you can get with a runtime to run your inference performance workloads. So whenever you are running your inference for your models, you can run it on an NVIDIA NIM that will be state-of-the-art performance. So it has all the optimizations within the container. So you can run it on the specific GPU. You can run it with the specific techniques like a sparsity or like any other techniques that can help you to get the best performance. Whatever you do is like this container will help you to get best latency, accuracy, and throughput for your performance models. So let's go to the slide. In the slide, we will see how you can get the difference between doing all the optimizations yourself versus doing all the optimizations using the NIM. So first is you can learn that it will be easier to deploy, so you can run it anywhere. You can be secure, so it will contain like the secure environment versus the open source environment. When you have to secure it yourself, the NIM will be a secure environment already. It is like an optimized infrastructure, optimized technology. So for the right GPU, it will have the best performance. It will have custom code. So for any other model that you will be running, and it will be like our NIM factory. So we will have ongoing maintenance for the NIMs. So it will help you to reduce the time for optimization on your inference workloads. Let's back to the stage, so we can just select a few features that we can have on this engagement. One is you can deploy anywhere your NIM container, so you can run it on EKS, or you can run it on SageMaker, or you can run it on EC2 GPU instances. It will be a simplified deployment, so it will be easy and really simple for you to deploy those NIMs. There will be like a day zero support. You will get all the support from either Nvidia and AWS on your runtime environments. It will improve the TCO, so you will make sure that you have the best performance for the GPU you are running. Accuracy, latency, and throughput are the features that you will highlight using the NIMs, and you will get all the performance running an enterprise software. So we have this licensing mode, which is NVIDIA AI Enterprise licensing mode, that will help you and will give you all the support and all the backend from NVIDIA to help you run your inference. So with that, what we're going to do is deploy on EKS, so you can see some examples. You can see how easy it is to deploy, and we will be here to answer your questions.
Okay, very cool. So Vara, I'm assuming that's what you're here to do. You're going to show us exactly how we can run the NIMS product inside of EKS, which is an AWS source. Let's first start with EKS.
Yeah.
Remind our audience what EKS is and why they might want to run NIMS on top of EKS.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. So just to start with, Amazon EKS is a fully managed Kubernetes service. So a lot of you know about Kubernetes, and AWS's managed service is called Amazon EKS. And so when I say fully managed service, it's mainly the control plane. It's a fully managed service, and the data plane itself, the users will leverage various EC2 instances or a Fargate, various type of compute, and deploy their containers on EKS. And that's pretty much what Amazon EKS is. And then moving on to deploying containers, like Elliot said, and NIM is a container. So today, if you want to deploy any of the inference workloads like Llama 2 or Llama 3, or even Mistral, so those kind of models that you can deploy in Kubernetes, which is, in our case, is Amazon EKS, as a container, and then you scale horizontally and leverage the container orchestration capabilities that Kubernetes provides. And that's what we're going to look at today, and how you can easily deploy and manage and scale that to a large scale workload.
Yeah, very cool. So, okay, I got it. Containerization, NIMS comes prepackaged as a container, and we can scale that on EKS, a managed service on AWS. Okay, so you've got a demo for me. Should we see this thing in action?
Yeah, sure. So
Cool.
let me share my
Let's bring it
screen.
up.
I might be moving my head both the sides because I have two screens. But as you can see here, so let me start with the data on EKS. And you heard about Amazon EKS, but data on EKS is an open source initiative we started a couple of years ago. This is mainly to help our customers to scale data and ML workloads on Kubernetes on EKS. So this consists of a bunch of blueprints to deploy various data solutions, and also ML solutions. Comes with best practices, benchmarks, and some of the resources. So this is a useful tool if you want to get started with doing any AML workloads or generative AI workloads. You can start with the data on EKS. So today, I'm going to show you the demo how you can actually deploy NVIDIA NIM, using data on EKS blueprints, and show a couple of examples. And we can send some test prompts to verify the NVIDIA NIM blueprint. And then we can look at some of the Grafana dashboards as well to see the visualization of the NVIDIA NIM deployment. So without any further ado, let's get started. So as you see here on the screen, if you want to get started with the generative AI, I would click on the generative AI button there, explore that. And because we're looking at NVIDIA NIM, we have a number of patterns here. We have training and inference. Because it's an inference pattern, I would go to inference. NVIDIA NIM runs on GPUs. So I'm clicking on GPUs. And this is the blueprint I'm talking about, NVIDIA NIM LLM on Amazon EKS. So if you are thinking about deploying NVIDIA NIM on EKS, I would say this is the best place to start with. You have all the data and clear instructions on how to deploy it. But I won't be doing that as a part of this demo. Probably deploying the solution probably take around 17 minutes. When I say 17 minutes, that includes creating an EKS cluster, deploying the nodes, and deploying, Nvidia NIM, and so on. So for that sake, so we're going to skip some of those steps and I'll jump on to show you the cluster and other things. Yep. So, and this is I would like to show you this architecture. This gives you a little bit of overview before I jump into the demo. As you can see here, this is the blueprint that we are deploying as part of this, the deployment, NVIDIA NIM deployment. So NVIDIA NIM provides multiple models that can be deployed in EKS. The way we do it is, in this case, we are using a Helm chart. And within the Helm chart, you can specify which model that you want to deploy. But for today, I'm going to show you Llama 3 8 billion parameters model that we're going to deploy it. And we can see some scaling using Carpenter auto scaling. So when you deploy, you can have one replica, one container running on EKS. But then by using horizontal pod auto scaling with custom metrics using Prometheus and Prometheus adapter, and you can choose, in this case, I'm using number of requests running. And then you will see the number of pods scaling horizontally and creating new nodes and new pods to actually take over the load and, horizontally scale the whole workload. And this is like an EKS cluster. You see the two worker nodes, G5 2x. In this case, I'm using the smallest instance that we're going to see in a minute. And these pods are backed by a NIM K8 service, exposed by the NIM K8 service. And even that service is backed by the load balancer. That means the users who are consuming this will be using the load balancer that can be NLB or ALB, but I'm using NLB with Nginx here. That's another pattern. And then you can send prompts to these nodes and get a response back from the server. And the scaling happens to the Prometheus. And the most important thing is these models, when we pull from NVIDIA NIM, and we are storing these models as a cache in EFS here. You see that we are leveraging Elastic File System as a shared file system that can be used by across all the pods. Even if the horizontal scaling kicks in, they're all connected to the EFS and pull the model and then leverage the model, which is nice. We can take a look at that in a minute. So that's kind of an end-to-end architecture. We're going to see all of that in a minute. So to start with, simple instructions, and you clone the repo. You need NVIDIA API key. So before you start working on this, deploying this, and there is a developer key, probably Elliot can answer that from NVIDIA, and you can go and get the developer key, use that key to deploy it, because that's what, but if you want to run it in production, you have some licensing things that you need to work with NVIDIA there. But then from the EKS perspective, if you have AWS account, and then you can go and deploy it. You don't need any specific license, but just make use of, think of like usage of what you're deploying for it. You pay for those instances.
One thing, but to add is you can get that key from nvidia.ai.com.
Cool. So we're gonna take a look at that, and we have some instructions around how you can get the key here. We kind of explained it in more detail, and then shows that key, how to extract the key, how that key can be used within the deployment. We export it, and then finally, that's one command, install.sh, that goes and deploys your cluster, deploys your model, and make that model ready for you. So I'm going to show you the code in a minute to see exactly where the NVIDIA NIM is getting deployed. So switching back to my VS Code here, and that's the deployment.
So far, this is code that you got from the GitLab, the GitHub repository that was available. So you ran through the prerequisites, make sure you had everything set up in your AWS account. You have an API key, pulled the code down. Now we're looking at the code. Okay, yeah, let's go through the code really quickly, because I want to see this thing in action and make sure we have enough time to see some inference. Yeah, sure. So right, and this is the blueprint. And the key thing I wanted to mention here is I won't go through that. All this code is written in Terraform in this case. We have other, it's mainly focused on the Terraform, but if you are thinking of using some other infrastructure as a code, we can easily convert into that. But then the key thing here is this deploys an EKS cluster.
and that goes and deploys an EKS cluster. We won't go through that code anymore. But then we are using Carpenter to scale the nodes. So that's one of the add-on that goes in. Carpenter is an autoscaler from AWS, and that runs on Kubernetes and EKS in this case. And that will help you to actually spin up these instances at runtime based on the workload. And then moving on to the key variables. So to deploy NIM, to make it easier, what we did, we automated the solution using, the NVIDIA's NIM Helm chart. And all that you see here is I have two options here. I mentioned two default values. One is deploying Llama 3.1 8B instruct and deploying another model, Llama 3 8B instruct. So you can enable and disable the model, and you can also add multiple models within that variables. And then you go and run Terraform apply that goes and deploys all those NIM containers. That's the simplicity. But then now switch on to the cluster. Yeah, there's a question?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to clarify. So this code is already done for you. It quickly, you can add or customize that code to your liking, add in additional plugins. But you've already deployed that code into an EKS cluster. And now what you're showing is actually interacting with that. And we've got just a few minutes left. So I want to make sure that we get a chance to infer some things against steps.
So let's do because the model is deployed, I'm going to switch back to the Lens. It's an open source tool. Not open source license tool. We can visualize that. And as you can see here, this is an NVIDIA NIM container that I deployed as a part of this. This one pod running at the moment. And we can access the NIM using to access and send a prompt. I actually deployed an open source OpenAI web UI. And that's another part, which is talking to the NIM and get the response back. I want to give you something similar to what ChatGPT is like. You can send a prompt and get a response back. Let's go to that deployment. Let me show you real quick, switching on to another browser here. Okay. So as you can see here, I actually connected to this. This is open web UI. I connected to the model that I deployed, and I'll show you the code in a minute. That one, and this actually talks to the EKS model deployed on the container, and you can ask any question here. So this is going to get send a request to the NIM container, get a response back using Llama 3 8B instruct, and say, do you have anything in mind, Todd? Second type.
Not that I can think of. How about hey, there you go. I see. What is generative?
No, I'm gonna put what is NVIDIA's NIM and see what comes out. That's right. Right, there you go. Wow. You're getting a response back as something, it's pretty awesome. It's an OpenAI server. Yeah, go on top.
Yeah, that's super fast too. So I just want to real quick recap. We're running out of time. So we have the NVIDIA NIMS product that you can use. It's already been containerized for you. You can find that code on the GitHub data on EKS, and then we've deployed that container into an EKS cluster, which is managed by AWS. And then from there, we can use tools like Carpenter to scale more clusters or scale more pods and nodes to get really the most performance out of NVIDIA NIMs. And a lot of that work is already done for you. So if you're interested in learning more about NIMs, there's a blog that we'll have a link to, or you can go to data on EKS and follow the tutorial and get started really quickly. Hey guys, thanks for coming on the show. That was a really cool demo, and I hope to see you again next time.
Yeah,
back to you guys in the studio.
We're back.
All right, Fiona. Yeah, we're back, and really interesting to see about NIM. And I like to see, as AWS solutions architects, we're always trying to make the lives of our customers easier with our managed services. Just nice for NIM to be trying to be a set of microservices to make deploying AI workloads easier. Now let's take it a step further. Now they've containerized it, and so we have EKS, which Kubernetes to stand up by yourself isn't the easiest thing in the world. So we have EKS, which is a managed Kubernetes service. So now you have an easy way to deploy containerized NIM with EKS. A lot of good things coming together. So really cool stuff.
Absolutely. Dare I say, taking away the undifferentiated heavy lifting.
Love it. Love it. You've done good. You've done essay launch right there. So.
Absolutely. So we had a comment while we were gone asking, why this, why the survey gift card is $19. It sometimes even the pros make mistakes, as Nick did mention it there himself. Potentially when someone was going for a $10 gift card, their fingers slipped and went for the 19. So it really is just an extra $9 for the winners here. I don't know why you're complaining if you get these extra $9.
You are benefiting from the fat fingers of Nick, our producer. So. Literally. I'm not even making that up. That's exactly why. So
it's true.
Great stuff. So just as another reminder, that survey is still out there. Please go out there. It takes 2 minutes. Let us know how we can do better, what more things you want to see, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, thanks for taking that off. Taking those 2 minutes to let us know how we can do.
Absolutely.
So we're getting near the end of our show, and let's bring on Nick. Let's kind of give him
fingers himself.
Yeah, yeah. Let's bring him on, and let's talk about a few things. Because Fiona, I just learned one of the things that happened to me this past week was I solidified all of my plans to go to reInvent 2024. And earlier, you just let us know that you're coming as well.
It's true. My very first reInvent.
Very first. This will be my 4th, so I'm really excited. Where's Nick? Nick, can you come on the screen? There he is.
Yeah, I'm not sure I like the fat fingers moniker that I've been getting.
Really? That's weird.
I like to think of it as just a happy typo.
Or maybe you just have a really small keyboard. Is that what it is?
I think that's what, honestly, I like to think of it as just subconsciously. The show started in 2019. So I think I was just doing an Easter egg.
You're just finding ways to show kindness to the viewers as well.
Exactly. I'm a generous guy. Okay.
Exactly.
It's not fat fingers or the fact that I stink at typing. It's just, I was feeling generous that
kindness.
day. Right. Man, this is going to be my 6th reInvent, I think. So honestly, I'm surprised I don't have more gray hairs, but super fun thing. I really encourage everybody to go ahead and register. I'll drop a link here in the chat real quick. And for those of you wondering, yes, that does mean that I'm the guy behind the on-air thing. It's not a computer. It is me frantically typing out all of these bad jokes throughout the shows here. But definitely go register. It's a super fun week in Vegas. We usually kind of sell out the strip. We got a lot of fun things going on. There's interactive demos of all of this awesome tech. I think roaming around last year for the show, I played beer pong against a robot. I was able to do the robot. I was able to do the F1 racing simulator. That was really cool. There's a lot of awesome sports stuff there. I'm trying to think. We did drone delivery. We got to go on a movie set and see how they do cars and chase scenes and movie sets. Lots of really cool stuff on that floor. And if you guys want to show up on the program, just run behind stage and wave hi to your parents, whatever you want to do. Yeah. So everybody should definitely register.
Really exciting so this is my 4th reInvent, 3rd as an AWS employee. The first one was as I was on the other side of the table. But my first with the show as well, 3 years ago, we were kind of downstairs at the bottom of the slide, kind of off to the side. And ever since then, we've moved back onto the floor of the expo hall. So as you're walking around the expo hall, you're going to see a professional stage with us. We do our best to look professional. The stage definitely looks professional.
Yeah.
So if you are coming to reInvent, stop by, say hi, and it'd be great to have you.
Yeah, we're going to have some fun stuff for reInvent. Basically, the reason they had to move us is when you're on the expo floor, if you see this big stage and this massive crowd with a bunch of unbelievably good-looking people in the middle of it, that's probably us. That's why they had to move us to the expo and not at the bottom of the slides. We were causing a backup.
No one wanted to do anything else. They just wanted to stand there and stare at you guys.
Yeah, basically, like nobody was going into the expo floor because they were so entranced by the show.
Got it.
So, you know, it's
Totally
a bit
makes sense.
like the sirens of old when you know, sailors were just drawn to the rock. People are just drawn to the on-air stage. Yeah, basically. But yeah, everybody should definitely come by. We'll have some fun stuff at the booth this year to get the audience involved too. And the other thing is you guys definitely should take the survey. Basically, you know, that's my weekend reading. Okay. I want you guys to roast me. I want you guys to give me the compliments too. Hopefully there's a couple of those mixed in there, but
it's just Nick asking for some compliments.
Yeah, please. You know, my self-esteem is pretty low. So if you guys have it in your heart to take free $19 from me, if you're one of the first 20 respondents, go ahead, take the survey. Let us know how we can do better for you, what you want to find out at reInvent, all that kind of fun stuff. And should be a good event this year. Guys, you have anything else? Jeff, you going to be on any other shows coming up here?
Not as of right now, but what's in store for next week for this show?
Next week, we got some launches that we're still kind of in progress, so I can't quite give away the details yet.
I'll be there.
Heck yeah, Fiona will be there again. It'll be her third show, and it'll be some exciting ones. We've got some cool ones teed up.
So what do we think now, Fiona? This is her second show. She's got 2 shows under her belt. What do we think? Is she doing a good job? Is she a keeper?
I passed the tests?
I know. I thought she was doing a good job, and then she called me fat fingers. So I'm kind of.
Actually, I did. I'm the one who actually said that.
But she didn't stand up for me. So, you know, I think
I didn't. I wasn't even just a bystander. I also kind of egged it on a little bit.
Yeah,
that's
you know,
true.
she encouraged. So I'm not sure. You know, jury's still out on Fiona. Maybe people can let us know in the survey what they
say
think.
Something nice about me, guys. So Nick, though, I hear that maybe we're going to have you doing some things at reInvent too. Are the viewers going to be voting on something potentially?
Yeah, so starting probably next week, viewers will be able to get to vote on things to make me have to do at reInvent. Things ranging from, I think one of the options right now is me having to eat an entire pineapple pizza. Which I'm Italian, so that goes against every one of my ancestors. So that should be interesting. Maybe a dance off with some mascots, I think, is one out there. I don't know. Debbie and the rest of the production team are coming up with some pretty horrific options. So if you guys want to vote on things that you're going to have to make me do at reInvent, we can start doing that in the next week or so. Should be entertaining.
All right. Sounds like everyone must come back next week so we can all vote for him to have to do a dance off.
Yeah, let's not do that. That would be a loss for everybody.
Win for us, the watchers, I think.
Well, I don't know. If you guys have seen Hitch and the dance moves from the guy in that movie, that's about par for the course for my skill set there.
Don't know the movie, I'm not gonna lie.
What?
Well, Nick, I think it was pretty exciting to see you were kind of like our remote correspondent last year at AWS. So walking around the expo floor doing interviews. So it sounds like we're just going to take it a step further and just have you do some crazy things.
Yeah, instead of just watching all the demos, I'm unfortunately going to get dragged into a couple of them, but it should be entertaining.
Yeah, cool.
But yeah, you know, I think that's about it for today, guys. You know, tune into our other shows like Jeff and Fiona outlined at the beginning. We got plenty of other shows throughout the week. We've got Under the Hood and Startups on Tuesdays. We've got sports coming back October 2nd on Wednesdays. We've got Data Dive on Thursdays. We've got Lockdown Tuesdays. We've got the first Thursday of every month. We've got a game day interactive show. Plenty of programming. Should be a fun thing. Subscribe to the channel and, you know, catch up all the other shows too.
Amazing.
Yeah, sounds great. Nick and Fiona, until next time, it was great hosting the show, and we'll see you next time.
This is awesome. Thanks for joining my second show, Jeff. It was great getting to do it with you.
All right. See you, everybody. Have a good weekend.
Later, guys.
Bye.